We have one other film. One I'm gonna be honest. I've been very, very excited about for some time.
Because you read The Shining and Doctor Sleep?
I did.
But the things that live there. They come back.
I did read Doctor Sleep, and
did you like it?
I did.
Okay.
I even liked it better than the Shining novel,
Okay.
which I don't particularly care for.
Oh, really?
At all.
Interesting.
Well, the thing about it is that, look, as much as Stephen King doesn't particularly like Kubrick's film, I love it. I think it's probably one of the greatest horror films of all made. I mean, even if you don't particularly care for the story, just like how the entire movie was shot.
Sure.
That's the thing that I think really stands out about it. I mean, the fact that look, they knew he knew it was a masterpiece of modern horror. They're not that marketing was absolutely true in my opinion.
It's funny because I always thought I saw The Shining because I remember watching it in pieces on HBO.
Okay.
Never to sit down and watch it beginning to end. Until today, I decided to fire it up, and right off the bat watching, I was like, I feel like I've never seen this movie.
Wow. Okay.
Or at least I certainly never saw the beginning.
I was going to ask you. Now there have been multiple Shining adaptations.
Oh,
Are you aware of
I
that?
watched the original.
You watched it. You watched the Kubrick 1980 film.
Yeah.
Okay, because there have been other adaptations. One which is fairly infamous. Now, as we all know, Stephen King was not a fan of the Kubrick film. Actually, despised it.
Right.
He was saying this is not
What I wrote.
what I wrote. He described it as my book is hot. His is cold. Kubrick's film is cold. Stephen King, of course, is a filmmaker. People forget. Did Maximum Overdrive, which, two mixed results. Funny as hell.
Would you call that cinema?
You know what? I would call it cinema.
You have to now.
I have to now.
You already planted your flag. You have to.
I'm not saying it's very good cinema, but it is. But he did do his own adaptation, one to very, very mixed results, which is the 1997 miniseries, which was very much like the book.
Okay. Steven Weber?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Steven Weber and a couple other people I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, it was super overdramatic and honestly felt like it was shot like a soap opera. This is what I always thought was very interesting because, he wrote Doctor Sleep as a sequel to his book.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Not to the Kubrick film. He would never do that. However, that film was incredibly popular. It grew over time to be, again, considered to be a modern horror masterpiece.
Right.
A masterpiece even.
Yeah.
In multiple people's, favorite films list, certainly in mine. So the struggle with this is like, okay, well, how are you going to then, if you're going to adapt this, people are going to want a sequel, a true sequel, not most people, to that Kubrick film, right? You want to see what happened after the events of that, and we don't want to acknowledge the book and everything, kind of some of the nonsense that happens in there. And so I think what's very smart is that they did a compromise. And the person who harbored that compromise, who brought that kind of together, was a director who he's kind of like started to really grow over time, doing a lot of projects at the moment, and is Mike Flanagan, who is probably best known for doing probably a few Stephen King adaptations. He even did Gerald's Game. He did Haunting on Hill House.
Okay.
One of my actually favorite horror thrillers in the last few years. Which was a home invasion movie, Hush, which is what kind of put him out on the map for a lot of people. That and Oculus, and he's a talented guy, and he was the one that kind of sat down with Stephen King. He said, look, I love your book,
but I like the movie more.
But I like the movie more. People like the movie more, and he's like, I will do an adaptation of this film. You saw my work with Gerald's Game. People like that. He liked that. Stephen King liked that.
Yeah, he's easy. I imagine he was easily able to convince Stephen King, look, clearly I'm a fan.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I did pretty much word for word.
You're my
film.
hero.
Yeah.
I want to do you right.
Yeah.
But I can't ignore the film because I'm making a film.
Can't
and
ignore that
film.
legacy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, he came to compromise and say, like, okay, look, it's going to kind of be an amalgamation. Taking a lot of stuff from your book, but a lot of the aesthetic things, some of the plot from the Kubrick Shining is going to be in place of a lot of the plot from your original novel, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that they managed to come to that agreement is, to me, awesome. I do want people to see the trailer. Pretty cool trailer, in my opinion. And once we look at that, we'll come back with our review, Martin.
You sure you want to do this?
I'm ready. Play with us forever and ever.
With the context of The Shining, I think the movie kind of transcends just being an ordinary thriller and really becomes something really special. I like that, with the original film with Jack. I mean, with the original Shining, how that film was about a family unit falling apart.
Yeah. It's funny because rewatching it, I was like, this family was falling apart long before they got there.
Right as soon as it started. I mean, it didn't help.
No, I don't mean as soon as it started.
Yeah,
I mean
beforehand.
Yeah, their dynamic before they even got there. They were ripe for all that shit happening to them.
One of my favorite scenes in the beginning of The Shining is when they're actually driving up to the Overlook Hotel, and you have Jack Nicholson just going, just like not even wanting to hear it. Yeah. And it helps too that you get cast of Jack Nicholson, who's someone who just completely makes sense. Who's someone just constantly like on edge, just like he's gonna burst right at the second. I think that's really cool. But I liked how you saw the de-evolution of this family, even without the ghosts. You knew something was happening. Oh, yeah. You know that it was kind of falling apart in the beginning. And I like that how the beginning of The Shining, of Dr. Sleep, deals with the aftermath of that.
It's good to see the older Danny and see that all that stuff from the first movie just messed him up.
No, exactly. Badly. And that's why I'm really grateful that, Ewan McGregor was cast in this role. It helps that, he's played someone who has suffered from terrible substance abuse and alcohol abuse, for what's the name of the film? It escapes me at the moment.
Trainspotting.
Trainspotting, thank you. But I like how the film opens up. One, that we see a young Danny again. But then we kind of, as the film quickly goes on, we see that his life, much like his father's life, has delved into alcoholism, even worse than his father. Yeah. And I think that was a really cool perspective how we saw this character where, yes, when we first see him in The Shining, he's just this kid who's clearly off. Something's wrong with him. He's dealing with, emotional abuse. Yeah. The environment that he's in.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, that's just creepy and wrong. But like all that has affected him to the point where he's become this person. And I like that the movie didn't really hold its punches in the beginning with him. It's like he's a foul person.
He's a piece of shit.
And he absolutely is a piece of shit. And he does something that right off the bat, and it's just like, okay, you honestly, you should probably be in prison. He's gone to a new town, and he's tried to put his life back together based on everything he's been through. And that's where we finally learned how he gets the name Dr. Sleep, and that he works for thanks to Cliff Curtis.
Good old Cliff Curtis.
Good old Cliff Curtis. Happy to have you, Cliff. He basically gets Janny a job at this hospice.
Yeah,
as an orderly, where he uses his powers, his shine ability to ease people to the afterlife, much like the book, and. I think it's like he's in a moment of kind of reprieve where he's finally relaxed. He's finally, despite all the horrible things that he's done, it's like, okay, he's putting his life together. But I like how quickly, because of this, even after years he's done this for so long, he just wants to be left alone. Things start to happen where it's like, listen, the shine, you're not the only one that have the shine. Like other people have this ability. And that's kind of where I think the movie does start to get going. And where we're introduced to the character of Abra. As soon as kind of we start to see them interact with each other, and she's the one that contacts him in the film because she has the most powerful shine ability that I think anyone in the Stephen King series. Like, I really like their dynamic. And later on towards the film, we're introduced to something that really wasn't present in the original Shining, and that is the cult of the True Knot.
Yeah, we actually
And-
get introduced to them pretty early on.
No, I guess that's true based on what some of the actions that they do. But like we
Yeah.
start to with more context.
Yeah.
We get to know who they are, and it's through the true not like I like again like yes you have a lot of familiarity with this movie, but it is you need to I think establish new things. It just can't be ghosts in a hotel the entire time.
Well, I gotta say, man, I keep talking about this like with Terminator. Just like the newest Terminator just rubbed me the wrong way.
Sure.
In as much as it brings up so much of what I hate about sequels. I ranted about sequels last night. Because most sequels are, hey, let's remake the first movie, but pretend like that's not what we're doing.
Sure.
And they'll do it over and over again. And so when a sequel comes up, I don't want to see it. Even when they do one that's like, oh, it's from something from 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Here, that is not the case.
And that's what I love about it.
Me too.
Through all the things they introduced, even though aesthetically similar things, but they introduced a lot of new plots.
No. It did what, like, if you ask me if somebody was to do a sequel, what would I want? It's this.
Yeah.
Where you've taken this character, or some of the characters, and you've made your own movie. You've made a plot that doesn't even resemble the first one, and yet ties directly back into it.
Yeah. We spend our time getting to know these characters, getting to know, this new version of Danny, Abra, her family. But it's also through these enemies, the main threat in the film, which again, I think this kind of stands out as something which we didn't really, people aren't expecting, I think, for a sequel to The Shining, which is the cult of the true knot. Which again is kind of some really cool world building where it's these people who've existed for centuries. And where they feed off of other people's shine, or in this case, their steam. It's basically their life, their life essence. Yeah, they're vampires basically, which I think is really cool. You get a sense of the threat through an actress who I've really started to admire, and I think she's kind of one of the standouts of this movie. But it's Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, I remember her in one of the
Rose.
Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, I
and
forget which one she's in.
Oh, this chick's pretty hot, and she's really good at this action stuff. And then every time I see her in things, I was like, she's got a pretty good range to her.
Sure, and she's also horrifying. I think even though the True Knot themselves, like the cult, like you don't really get to know any of them through her presence. She is, I think she is probably the horror element that kind of brings this movie together. Because that's one thing I do want to say. Like this film is not a horror film. I think for the most part. I think this is a horror thriller. I think for the most part, it wants to be a thriller.
Okay.
And towards the end, it definitely gets into horror. And when the True Knot's involved, it's a bit of a horror. But it's very much a thriller, I think, for the most part. Especially how they deal with certain things in the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Yeah, because the first Shining is definitely a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a haunted house film.
Yeah, a haunted house film. And this is not that. Yeah, you're right. It's more of a horror thriller, maybe even a little bit of a superhero element thrown in there.
I could definitely see that. Yeah. I think that's probably what even Stephen King kind of wanted for his original book. And as the the film starts to go on, and you really go on this journey with these characters, it's to the point where it's like, okay, I like that even despite it being so connected to the original Shining, it really does stand on its own. And I think so often you have filmmakers who's like, kind of like how you said, I just want to remake the same movie again.
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of the first ones, I think, in a very long time that doesn't feel the need to do that. It'll bask in the glow of that original movie, and use it aesthetically, but we see these characters move on from who they were, even though we know, through their experiences. And we're going to put them in very different situations.
Yeah.
Unlike the previous films. Even when they, eventually when they go back to the Overlook Hotel, and we see all the things that happen there, I like that they still tried to do something different with it. I still think it tries to adhere to that kind of thriller aspect. Yeah, you'll see some scenes that are very similar, but I think with the added context of what happened in the original Shining and how you're seeing how a character who's in a similar situation, how they handle it, and I think that's really cool how they do that.
I feel for people who love the original Shining and will come to this wanting something like that.
It's not shot in that same way.
It's not. I think, it's not. Yeah, it's completely different filmmaking. I think the only director who could have done that would have been Ari Aster. Because looking at the first movie today, I was like, this had to be his biggest influence because so much of this looks like his movies. I kept getting reminded of Hereditary. Carl Lumbly, I thought worked really well.
I thought he was perfectly
Yeah,
cast,
yeah,
and
yeah.
what they do with him and how he functions in the movie. Again, it's very different what happens to his character from the film into the book, and how they handle it here.
Right.
I think it's really, really cool.
It is.
And it actually, like, this is naturally just works, and you see how that kind of plays out.
No.
But
every time he shows up, I kind of lit up. Like,
No, he's great.
This works perfectly.
I mean, so often, and this is a common thing, like, the mystical, magical black man who's coming to save the white guy. But it's like, no, he actually,
That's what he is.
well, he is that, but again, with the context of The Shining and with what he's doing here, and this performance, it's just very good. It's like he's not in it very much.
Yeah, and he's not all the way through it. It's not like he keeps popping up to go like, oh no, Danny, I feel like you shouldn't do that
at the last minute or something like that. No, I mean, he's like he's a comforter. And that kind of thing, trying to guide him to the good times. Like, you gotta do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm gonna give you some advice.
And you gotta do this.
You gotta help this girl. All right, it's not about you anymore. Remember what you did, you piece of shit.
It's interesting because there were things in Dr. Sleep where I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Or what's going on here? Or I feel like this has some significance. I don't know. Now, today, going back and watching The Shining,
Sure.
so many things in my brain opened up. As a matter of fact, I feel like this movie really works as it explains the first movie in ways that it didn't before.
Yes, it does.
And a big thing is that what's funny, I get why Stephen King wouldn't like Stanley Kubrick's movie, because for a movie named The Shining seems to really get upstaged by everything else.
By Jack Nicholson's performance.
His
just going around the goddamn
the ghost,
room.
the blood, the twins. I was like, I thought this was about the psychic power. That seems to be incidental.
Yeah, sure.
As opposed to this movie called Dr. Sleep, where it's mentioned once, but it really is about The Shining.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, it's taking what worked from the original film, but it's expanding upon the world, which is what you should always do with a sequel.
Yes.
And so often that doesn't happen. You just want to retread. It does kind of frustrate me that, and because I have noticed this with other reviews, and I hate to bring up other reviews and things like that, because it's like that's a person's opinion. But I think that because of the fact that this just happens to be a sequel to Shining, people are going to dislike it automatically because it's not a Kubrick movie,
Right.
As you brought up previously, and I just don't think that's fair. It does stand on its own.
I felt the same way.
And for people just to kind of dismiss it as a try hard horror thriller when it's really introducing new elements. It's focused on a lot of world building, showing where these characters have grown. I think that's kind of special. Really, with Dr. Sleep, this is what I want to see with King films.
Same here.
It's I mean, he has a universe. People hate universe building and stuff like that, but if you handle it this way, where it all existed in one thing, but they're very separate from each other, it would be spectacular. I think you can be creative with the little touches every year. Like The Shine is in other books. Other people have The Shine. I don't even know they have The Shine. It's in the Dark Tower. People are like, what the hell is that? They call it something differently, but that's what it is. It's like, this is really cool. And this is a film.
Is Firestarter connected with this? Is Firestarter connected?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people like the Shine ability can be different things.
Okay.
Yeah,
because there's a character who has a power of the girl's dad.
Yeah.
The same power.
Yeah, he has like
the push.
He has the push, which is similar to the Shine. Like there's different levels and things. So yeah, I mean it's the whole world building aspect of which I love so much. But no, man, I mean just kind of give you my final thoughts. I think this is an excellent movie. Mike Flanagan has been on a roll for some time, and I think this showcases his skills. He's able to do a sequel to a beloved movie, but make it his own. Kyla Curran.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a relatively new actress, but I think she did an excellent job. But no, I think that this is one of the best horror thrillers of the year. I loved how it ended. It's very much a closing chapter. Both The Shining and to this film.
Yeah.
I think you can watch both of these really back to back, and you just get like a profound amount of closure.
Sure.
And I really liked it. It answers a lot of the questions that The Shining left open.
It really does,
which is really cool.
I wasn't expecting that.
And there's one other thing I want to touch on. I love how in the original Shining, the ghosts are just kind of Jack Nicholson for the most part. It's like just kind of pushing him a little bit. It's like, all right, but he does it most of himself. Well, yeah, we just listen. What's the quote that Heath Ledger says? It's like madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push, and they did that to Jack. But with this, these ghosts ain't around. This thing's been closed down for 30 goddamn years.
Fine, somebody came back.
Yeah, but we want you. And they get them. They get a lot of people. And I really like that. Again, it did something different. So for me, I give this a very high full price.
I was surprised by how much I dug this because I wasn't excited from the trailer.
Sure.
And like I said, sequels, here we go.
Yeah.
But not only did it do everything I want a sequel to do, but I got to say, it ends in such a way where there's complete closure, but I really want another one.
Really?
Yeah. If he had written another book to this, I'd be reading it. Because it's one of the few of his stories, and maybe it's because of Flanagan, but where the ending doesn't suck.
No, it does not. I think it's actually, it's funny. Stephen King endings typically do suck. This one, I think, is great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And how does it compare to the book?
It's different.
Okay.
It's different. And again,
Okay.
I'm gonna be that guy. It's like, I like this movie better than the book.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And for somebody who tends to not like horror movies, this goes on my list of those. And
Nice.
one of the big things about it is that the movie is 2.5 hours long.
Yep.
And I wasn't bored. I wasn't wanting it to end.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a sense of tension the entire time. It delivered on what it was supposed to. Maybe not enthusiastic, but I do give it a full price.
Nice. No, that's great to hear. See, we came to agreement. We disagreed about some things initially in the news, but we eventually got towards the thing we definitely agreed on. So that was cool.